It is time for Appraise. This, the Frick and Frack of Nick and Knack, join us every week at this time, or just about every week at this time. That's Tim, Luke, and Greg Strom. You can find them at tqag.com, Treasure Quest Appraisal Group. But it looks like this morning, Mr. Luke must be on the road. Good morning, Mr. Strom.
Good morning. He actually just called me about 5 minutes ago and said that he's having some issues with along I-95 with the cell service. So it doesn't look like I could barely hear him. So I don't think he's able to join us this
that
morning,
reminds me
but
of...
That's okay.
Remember last week when he sounded like he came from the far side of the moon? Wasn't that last week or the week before?
I think he was... I think he got past the moon this week, and he's on his way to Mars.
All right. Well, we wish him safe travels. Where is he going to?
Well, he's just going down to Miami again, but there's I'm not exactly sure what it is, but for some reason he's really not able to connect lately along the I-95 corridor. I don't know whether it's the too much traffic, people talking on cell phones in cars, or what. I had no clue.
Well, whenever I hear he's going to Miami, I always think of the old joke, "Take me to Miami."
Yes.
And that's a punchline to a lot of different jokes, folks. A lot of different jokes. But anyway. So what's up now? What's up, Greg?
Well, before we do anything else, I just have to get one thing out of the way. I'm very proud to say that after 30-some years, I went to the mailbox last week, and lo and behold, what shows up but my Empire State College diploma from 1986.
Why did it take so long? Did you break something, or did you steal a book?
No. What happened was I was going to school on the VA educational program when I got out of the Army in the 70s. And I started at the University of Toledo. And then I decided to become a song and dance man, and so I went to New York. So I transferred from University of Toledo to what I thought was going to be a school in New York. And then as life happens, you have to work to pay for school and to live while the VA is paying for your college. So I had to work and to only take classes here and there whenever I could afford the time. So it took me about 4 years to finally finish, and I registered with Empire State College, and just before graduation, I was given a job, or I applied for a job in Washington, D.C. at the Kennedy Center and got it. So I was in the midst I wasn't able to attend my own graduation ceremony. So they said they would send me my diploma. And so I thought, oh, well, they'll just forward it to Washington, D.C. They'll have my forwarding address. Well, it never happened, and I totally forgot about it all these years. And I'm in the process of going for my personal chef certification, as I told you before. And I needed to have my college credentials. So I thought, oh, my God, I just realized I never received them. So I found them, and I sent in the information. And lo and behold, 30-some years later, my diploma shows up.
There you go.
So I'm actually an educated college graduate.
Is it dusty? Is it yellow? Does it look like it's 30 years old?
No, it looks like it just came off the presses 20 minutes ago.
Well, then what you have to do, Greg, and you've got the technology, you know the technology, you have to antique that and make it look 30-some years old. Because nobody's going to believe that that's a real diploma.
I graduated so long ago. They should probably use a chisel and a hammer to write the diploma.
That costs.
But I didn't really realize the power that a piece of paper holds over people. I mean, that diploma, I just thought, oh, it's a piece of paper. Well, it's a little bit more than that. I've discovered. So.
I can't believe
it feels good. It feels good to actually have something that's an accomplishment, even though I know I had finished, but to have that validation saying, oh, you know what? Oh, congratulations, you made it. So
you know the power. You know the power of a piece of paper. You guys got married at the Interlaken, and then there's no
true.
There's no bigger piece of paper with power than a marriage license. There really isn't.
Boy, I'll tell you that's the truth. That is the truth. So between paper and stuff, it has a power over people.
It's amazing.
Speaking of stuff, this weekend was Tim was in Vineland, New Jersey for his semi-annual auction there. It's a big one. It's 1,500 lots.
Wow.
So that's in 2 days. That's a lot of lots, as they would say.
That's losing your voice lots.
Yeah. And it was Bertoia, as you know, is a big one of the major players in the antique toy doll industry and auction companies, and they've been around for a number of years now, and they're still going strong. And we've watched over the past couple of years the depression in the toy market start to creep back, and this weekend is proof that I think we've kind of hit a nice plateau where things are selling where they should be selling at. And we've talked about the market at auction a number of times and how you can see what the trends are. And the past couple of auctions that I've noticed from Bertoia, it seems as though the market for toys, antique toys, has stabilized. And it's like we have said in the past, the things that are really, really good are always going to bring good prices, and that happened again this weekend. And the things that are still out there and available, even though they're vintage or antique toys, as long as they're in great condition, they are holding strong. So there were some, although I don't think there were any records broken this weekend, some of the mechanical banks, which we've talked about in the past, doing well, actually. Some of the antique pressed steel toys, door knockers and door stops, cast iron door stops. Okay, everything seems to be on level ground right now, and I think that's actually a good sign for the market, because, as you know, since 2008, it's taken a long time for certain markets to come back, and I think we might have turned a corner this past year, especially with collectibles. So it was fun to watch the auction and to see what things were selling for. And 1,500 lots is a very good indicator as to where the market is, especially if you're using a house like Bertoia, or Morphy's, who are probably the two preeminent toy auctioneers in the country, and if not in the world. So it was a good sign to see that, because it's nice to see a little bit of stability in the collectible market.
You know what I used to have? And you're going to go wild with this, because I think it was an antique. Well, when I got it, it was my grandmother gave us those type of banks. I had a cowboy gun bank, and it had a gun. All right, you would load the gun with the coin. This was the coolest thing in the world. You would load the gun with the coin and fire it about the hole above the head of a bad guy. All right. And it was,
oh my God, I've never even seen that.
It was the coolest thing in the world, and I don't know what I did with it. I would probably think my brothers tried to rearrange it so it shot at people, but it had a little gun, and you put your money in that gun, and you would shoot it at the bank. You would shoot it at the bank. It was the coolest thing in the world. So
oh my gosh!
When you bring up banks like that, I just remember things like that.
Well, I know there is there's the William Tell Bank, which is that's a similar idea. There's another mechanical bank made by the J.E. Stevens Company where there's a guy with a gun, and he shoots into he loads the gun and he shoots into the stump of a tree, and then when he shoots in, the bear pops out of the tree. I know. Those were, and then there's of course the Indian shooting the bear bank, and then, but I've not ever seen the one with the shooting the. Shooting at the bad guy.
At a bad guy above the bank, and then he would go away when the money went in the bank. Very bizarre, but you know what? We're talking about these banks, and there's 70% of the people out there saying, "What the hell are they talking about?" Because they never enjoyed and had the fun of doing manual things like that.
Well, as we've talked about in the past, the thing with these cast iron banks that had action to them, they were designed in the late 19th century to treat children and to teach children thrift. Penny, because they were penny banks. Basically, you would just shoot a penny into this thing and you would save it, and that way they were trying to teach children about thrift and saving money. So there were a number of really fun designs and fun things from animals. There's one that's a jockey. And actually now we have to be in what's the word I'm looking for here? To be completely transparent. Some of them were extremely inappropriate far as they were racist, and they and the names of them and have been they've survived over the years, and that's how these toys have been called when they go to a sale. If you go and you say, "Have you heard of the?" I can't even bring myself to say it.
Yeah, don't.
So no, but that was it's there again. It's part of the history of toys and part of the history of. Not that it's a good part, but I mean those things are still around, and if you can find them, they do still command, depending on their original condition or not, they can bring a significant dollar. Right. So, but still banks also, which is exactly what they say, they're just they just sit still and you just drop like in a piggy bank, and a lot of them are still around. And still banks, not so much anymore. Still banks, the ones that still bring the high dollars are the mechanical banks, especially if they're in original condition with original paint. And that's what's very hard to find. And of course, as we've talked about in the past, that's what drives prices is condition, condition, condition.
All right. Well, with condition, I have to tell you, we're out of time.
Oh my God, where did it go? We didn't need Tim.
That's right. We went to field 15 minutes right through. All I can say is if that bank was meant to teach me how to be thrifty, it failed miserably. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Greg.
You and me both, brothers. You and me both.
All right, I'll speak to you next week.
Okay, have a great week.
Take care. Greg Strom, Tim Luke and Greg Strom, the appraisal guys, the frickin' frack of Nick and Knack with Appraise This.